Hello, welcome to another episode of Frack The Canon. This time we're gonna go back to our childhood, kinda talk about the Karate Kid spinoff that is sweeping the world by off its leg. Oh, see what I did there? Cobra
Sweep the
Kai,
leg.
sweep the leg. We're talking about
Yeah,
the
bloody
three
dang.
seasons series, and we'll start with Tyler Weiss. Hello, Tyler,
Hey, how's it going?
and Kenny Jasper.
Howdy.
All right, this is Frack The Canon. Frack on. So Cobra Kai is taking the world by storm. I did an episode with my cousin in the Latam version. That was the first episode. I'm like, dude, I need to talk to someone about Cobra Kai. And my cousin like, I'll do it. Cool. So then we get the Latam version, and it got a lot of views. But I was watching it on YouTube. Did anyone else watch it on YouTube, or did you watch it on Netflix?
I got a YouTube Premium subscription just to watch it. That was the only show I was watching.
Nice. I also have a YouTube premium account, so I saw it on YouTube until season 3.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
So I got YouTube just for that season. I'm like, okay. So let's start off with the main story. Is for those of you who don't know, Cobra Kai is a spinoff of the Karate Kid franchise, and it starts off with Johnny Lawrence and Daniel LaRusso, or as I called him, Danielson for the longest time. I didn't know his last name was LaRusso till me. Oh yeah, his last name is LaRusso. What did you guys think? What did you guys feel about them switching the roles of Danielson being kind of the preppy, like I guess because that's something interesting this show does is that it flipped the script on the story. Like Daniel LaRusso is the rich kid and Johnny Lawrence is the poor kid, but they're still kind of like, well, not really, not Danielson so much, but Johnny Lawrence is still stuck in the 80s, still stuck in like on PC ways, which I find it very fresh. I'm like,
I appreciate you coming in, but there are no girls in Cobra Kai.
Why not?
Same reason there aren't women in the Army. Doesn't make sense.
refreshing that he's still like, no, you can't do that. Like that is such pussy things. That's such a pussy way to think of things.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my god, I love the character so much. Like, what were your original thoughts when you first saw Johnny Lawrence again for the first time after like 30 years?
Love where they went with it. I rewatched Karate Kid after finishing season 3, and it's super obvious that they're both at fault with what happens throughout the whole movie. For example, Johnny was kind of leaving Daniel alone, and then for no reason he decides to like run a shower over the sink water over the bathroom, the stall, which led to Johnny and the Cobra Kai kids beating him up. And then Daniel's like, they beat me up, and it's like, yeah, but you did that for no reason. So if it weren't for Mr. Miyagi, like Daniel would have a really big problem because he's an idiot, I thought, in my opinion.
Johnny, leave him alone, man. He's had enough. Throw the side when he's had enough, man. What is wrong with you, Johnny? An enemy deserves no mercy. Right. You're crazy, man. Yeah. Johnny, Bobby, get him. Get him.
Yeah. Something that I think the show does really well is it does expand upon the movies. So I watched the first 3 movies and then watched season 3 when it came out. And like season 3 has some great moments and callbacks to season 2, but it also does a great job of expanding on the Johnny character and also reminding you that like Daniel's at fault for some of the stuff too. Like he's really childish. But you know, the kids in the 80s growing up in the valley, like they were fighting with each other.
I'm to use a Star Trek quote or Star Trek parlance. It was a mirror version of the Karate Kid universe because Mr. Miyagi, it is what is Johnny Lawrence, and Miguel is Daniel. and he only gets involved because his car's gonna get beat up.
Cry? Hey, where you going, pussy? Hey! Watch your car, man. Who's this dude? Just leave the dork alone. Get the hell out of here, loser. Let's get him.
And that's what I like. I like that. Like, there's the tension between Johnny and Daniel is still there. I love that. But what do you guys think about the kids? How do you feel about the new generation, the new Karate Kid class? Can I start with you?
I was drawn to like Miguel's character pretty early in. I think they did a great job with like casting and like building a character that you want to root for. And they, as the show progresses, they get to that point where you're like, okay, well, is Miguel being the bully now? Like at first he was just defending himself, and it goes too far. And the show has evolved with those characters, and I think in a really good way, because it, like Hawk's character goes off the deep end, and he does become full villain. But toward the end of season 3, you start to see he wants redemption. Like he misses his friends, and he doesn't just want to fight. He starts to realize why he wanted to learn Cobra Kai karate in the first place. And so that, like, carrying the torch and the legacy, I think is really good, because in the movies, the only character you really spend a lot of time with is Daniel. Like the first 2 movies, it's him and Miyagi. And the second movie is mostly about Miyagi and Chosen. And then the third movie it's all Daniel, and Daniel's being pretty like pouty throughout that movie. Whereas these kids, like in the show, they're not like that. It feels like there's some more depth there. They're dealing with more modern issues, more modern problems.
Yeah, I agree. And full disclosure, Miguel's my favorite character. I feel like he's the most fleshed out, most human. And I would say the most like Daniel is Sam, in the sense that she doesn't really see the consequences of her actions and just kind of acts on emotion. When rewatching the original Karate Kid, Daniel hits Johnny first when Johnny was kind of picking on the girlfriend. What was her name again?
Ali with an I.
Ali, yeah.
Ali with an I, yeah. So Johnny, obviously, Daniel was doing good by standing up for Ali, but Daniel, he totally does a cheap punch for, like, super escalates the situation with Johnny. And that's what Sam's like throughout all of Cobra Kai. Like, Sam's why Dimitri's arm broke. She's like, oh, let's go chase the Cobra Kai kids because they picked on you in the arcade. Let's chase them in the laser tag arena, and there's more of us than them. It's going to be great. And it's like totally a Daniel decision. And there's consequence in parenting too. I think that's partly a central theme to it too. And I hope in season 4, Daniel's able to reel Sam in a bit.
Interesting. So I was trying to think about that, because Sam, like, I don't know, Sam, it's like she's definitely probably painted as a protagonist, not antagonist. But when I saw that, I understood her decision, of why they would, like, all right, they're bullying us, we're not fighting back. Let's fight back now. I do agree that decision was why Dimitri got his arm broken. But I think that, in my opinion, like, her reasoning was sound. Like, okay, enough is enough. We gotta stand back because they're not gonna back down. She's still reeling from, like, because let's face it, because of her, Miguel broke his back. Like, he was in that horrible situation.
Clear the way.
Robbie, what did you do?
Yep.
And
that
it
was
wasn't,
another
and,
consequence.
and yeah, because it wasn't. It was in. It is teenage drama. It is teenage. It is. It is very CW, but way better than CW.
Yeah.
Like it's a soap opera. In the covering of karate, of martial arts.
Yeah.
I definitely feel that Johnny and Daniel's son. It's gonna be hard for me to call him LaRusso. It's gonna take me a while. Were the reasons why I came, but I'm thinking to the kids. But it's weird because I've always for 30, like they said, for 30 years you've hated Johnny Lawrence until this series. I'm like, oh, maybe you weren't such a bad guy. So let's think about that. Let's talk about the backstory we get. We get a backstory for Johnny Lawrence, and we get a backstory for Kreese, which I'm like, I see now why you're such a prick.
Yeah.
But does that justify it though? But what were your feelings on Johnny Lawrence and Kreese's backstories?
Essential for the foundation of this story. Johnny wise, it makes perfect sense why he would hate Daniel so much. And you wouldn't gather that just by watching the Karate Kid, because for those of us in our audience who haven't seen 1 and 2, 1 ends right when Johnny's like, "Hey, good job, Daniel. Yeah, we're done." And it's like, what? That was abrupt. But Karate Kid 2 starts right after that, and it shows like Johnny is really messed up in the head because Kreese tried to like choke him out after that. And Kreese was obviously very abusive as a coach, but like that one moment I think is what actually broke Johnny. And I think his confidence never returned from that, because prior to getting second place to Daniel, he already had like multiple like wins with Cobra Kai. So and then Kreese's backstory, I'm hoping we get more of that, because I don't think we've learned everything about him yet other than what broke him. Like I want to know what got him to the United States teaching karate too.
Yeah, that something they did in that episode where they did Kreese's background that I thought was really cool is they show they flash back to where Kreese is working at a diner as like a teen, and then they flip it and he's actually not, and he just wants to be the good guy and stand up, and then as they carry that story, you see kind of why he's been molded into like this almost like psychotic, like it's life or death. Even if I'm not at war, it's still life or death. And something I give the show total credit to is in the first season they really focused on Daniel and Johnny and these characters, where they're at in their current lives, and then the kids are kind of like sprinkled in as they build it. And then in the second season, it's more about the kids, and then in the third season, you really see like Johnny's trying to improve and get better, and Daniel's trying to remember his roots and how he got to where he's at. And then the kids continue to like escalate things. Without those backstories and those backgrounds, I don't think that the show does as well as it has.
I was surprised by his backstory. I'm like, oh, you weren't. So here's a little trivia before we go back. That bully that was the beginning, that's Martin Cove's real son in real life.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, that's pretty. I thought that was like, he looks just like Kreese. Of course, that's Kreese. I'm like, oh, that's not Kreese. No, because Kreese, like it feels to me that at least I understand why he broke, like what broke him. Like, all right, no winners, only losers. Like his trainer, like his CEO broke him. Like, all right, cool. Like, I gotta do this to survive. I thought that was good. Like, I like how we get the understanding of Cobra Kai, where the Cobra Kai began, and that's something I noticed with season 3 was that. Well, two things I noticed about the series in general and season 3. Like, season in general is about father figures, father issues. Like, we haven't talked about Robbie Keane, who is Johnny Lawrence's real son.
Yeah.
But Daniel's son is the one who raises him, like who gives him that father figure, and Miguel has Johnny Lawrence as his father figure. I almost said Martin Lawrence. Wrong, completely different show. Martin. And then Johnny Lawrence had Kreese as a father figure because his stepfather was such an asshole.
Yeah, Robbie Keane by the end with Kreese too.
But the Kreese, so like Robbie Keane is. All right, let's talk about Robbie Keane. So like obviously like he is like the redheaded stepchild. Like, nobody really, like, everybody wants, but no one really wants. Like, he's been just surviving right now. So how do you guys feel about Robbie Keating? I feel that he's doing his best to just stay alive. Like, he's not a bad kid. He's just been giving dealt a shitty hand. But right now he's just trying to like get survive right now. Or like he's looking for affection by any means necessary. And right now Creason's giving him that affection. But I feel Creason's gonna use him for his own personal gain and not I think that's what's gonna happen. Thoughts?
He's gonna use him at the All Valley to win and establish Cobra Kai is the dominant karate kid. I get frustrated with Robbie's character. Like he's given opportunity after opportunity to kind of get on the right track. And time and time again, like he's either too broken, and he needs somebody as broken as him, like Kreese, because like Daniel pretty much offered him to live with him, work for him, like get on track, and then he just makes the wrong decisions again and again.
Yeah, and Renee, you called it with one of the central themes of the show is fatherhood, and I think Robbie has all these issues because he has these daddy issues and these parent trust issues thanks to his mom too, and partly why he just runs away from Daniel and Johnny is he doesn't, like one little breach of his trust is like, oh, it's over. You're gonna run away from me just like Johnny did when I was growing up, left me with mom. And I think that's just his cross to bear, and it really shows, especially in season 3 with him and Juvie and stuff.
I think there is honor to Robbie Keating. There is something about the character like it's honorable. He just like Kenny said it. Like Kenny mentioned, he just makes bad decisions like over and over again. Like, dude, you got us. Like he was doing well with Daniel, but it was like that one kick. Like I was with him. I'm like, don't do this. Don't do like when he kicked Miguel over the railing. I'm like, that was like, I'm like but again, it was an emotional like.
Yep. And Robbie, I think, is because Sam is like supposedly parallel to Miguel, but Robbie is like parallel to Tori.
Yes, I would agree with that. So how do you feel about Tori? So my cousin, when we did the Latin version, that was the first episode of, like I said, Cobra of Frack The Canon. But he like, nah, she's a criminal, send her to juvie. What are your thoughts on Tori with the Y?
She's territorial and overprotective of people she has feelings for or love because of her mom and how much she has to do for her. But she's also emotional like Robbie because, I mean, at last episode of season 3, for example, showing up at the Russo house.
Heard you were throwing a party. Hope you don't mind if we crash.
Tori, you don't have to do this.
It's too late. This ends tonight. No mercy!
I mean, come on.
All right, but we got
that whole.
But that just wanted to say that.
Insane.
Yeah.
How badass was that fight though? That fight was so badass.
It was.
Oh no, it was awesome.
Yeah.
But there's these kids would have so much repercussions from that. Like that was a moment in the show that I was like, oh, so we're just going over the top now. We're going
the shark
straight
has been jumped.
Like they morph into Power Rangers. Yes, please. All right. So we talked about that when we talked about like the main characters. There's something you want to talk about is because at the end of the day, it's like it is presented as a comedy. Like it is. So what do you guys think about Johnny Lawrence's character? Like he's still kind of very aloof. Like when he sends that Facebook message to Ali, like he writes like this big like War and Peace pretty much. And Miguel's like, no, what do you think about the comedy about Cobra Kai? Like, does it throw you off? To me, I'm like, this is great. I need the comedy because Johnny Lawrence is sometimes one of the dumbest characters I've ever met. But at the same time, he's so honorable. At least in this version, like he took him 30 years to become an honorable man. But
I think like wholesome, like unintentionally wholesome.
Yeah. Yeah, Johnny's a vehicle for the show, which survives off of the nostalgia as well as its self-awareness of um, it's like an 80s like movie, like, and that's great. I kind of miss when movies and television shows didn't take themselves so seriously, and it was just, we're just here to sit down and unplug and have a good time, and that's why I think Cobra Kai is so refreshing.
I think
it is nice.
I love his
Like,
PC-ness.
Or his just unawareness of like technology. Because I have family that's like that. It's like, give it one of those hash browns. Like,
It's not into the internet.
Hashtag hash browns.
Hash brown Cobra Kai. One of my favorite is I'll see if I can find it, is like favorite movies, Iron Eagle and Iron Eagle 2. I'm like, that is so I'm like, what does that even mean?
Or it's like, what's more badass than a snake? Like Eagle Fang. Like, eagles don't have fangs.
A mongoose. I meant a real animal.
Oh, so I love the little moments. Like, okay, so now we're gonna tuck into a little bit of the romantics of Cobra Kai. So season 3, personally, I wanted more action at season 1 and 2, but for me it was a lot more like, this is what I've been waiting for all this time. I didn't know it was when we see the reunion of what was the girl's name? I forgot.
With an eye.
Oh, you drove the gun. Fuck it. I was gonna wait to go. Let's go with eye with an eye. She finally comes back.
Daniel with an L.
Oh my God. Allie, is it really you?
I think so.
When I saw her, I'm like, oh my God, I didn't know how much I needed this. I didn't know how much I wanted to see her again. These 3 characters come together. What did you like? I remember I kind of wanted her to stay with Johnny Lawrence, but at the same time, I'm like, no, I also want him to stay with Carmen. Like, no, like but I wanted to stay around. But I think she's already did her part. And what the character needed to do was the character for Johnny and Daniel.
Yeah, she represents closure of the past, I think.
I agree.
Yeah, the second Johnny had that kiss with Carmen, I'm like, that, because Johnny is like Miguel's pseudo father, and like that relationship needs to work. And then when Johnny got that message from Allie, I'm like, because they had
a
good
relationship.
But Carmen and Johnny had a great night together.
I like how you put it.
And then then the following morning, Johnny gets that message, and Carmen's like, "Oh, I'll see you later." And then Johnny goes and has that date with Allie. I'm like, no. But I love how that episode. Then later they see each other at that party or whatever, and Daniel's there, and I'm like, oh, one of the best episodes, in my opinion.
Kenny.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like, and then Johnny does it too. Like, every time you see a little bit of like progress or growth, you then like something intervenes, and so he gets that message from Allie. I'm like, no, like, you and Carmen are improving, and like, this is happiness, and like, you're too tied to the past. And then that's why I thought it was so well done with Allie. Allie has that like story moment where she's explaining to them, like, Daniel has his side of the story, and then Johnny has his side of the story. But there's a third part of the story, which is the truth and like what actually happened, like, the unbiased of it. It's like a real learning moment that Johnny like so rarely gets or doesn't really get to see. And like, it makes you feel for that character, especially like at the end of season 2 when Miguel's back's broken, like he's pissed, like he throws his phone away, and then you get to see this progression, this like love and care come full circle. It's like really well done.
Yeah, I was surprised. I'm like, I don't know what this is for, but I don't know if Cobra Kai is a kid show, an adult show, a young adult film. Like, I love it. Like, it feels like it's talking to me. I'm like, oh my God, yes, give me all the Cobra Kais. So I think you answered this, but so we agree that we want Johnny to stay with Carmen and not Ali, right? Is that what we said?
That's what I say.
Okay, that's what I say.
I agree. I just wanted to stick
around.
Go ahead.
The fan service is there,
Oh, it's so. Oh, and then also, so I was gonna when Chosen and what is the other girl's name from Japan?
Kimiko.
Kimiko, yes.
Yeah.
When Chosen and Kimiko show up, I'm like,
Right.
oh my god. That to me was awesome. And then the rematch with Chosen and Daniel, and when he like freezes Daniel's arm, I'm like,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my favorite moment in the whole show is when Daniel does it to Kreese.
Time for you and Miyagi to reunite.
If an enemy insists on war, then you take away their ability to wage it.
At the end of season 3.
Yeah.
that was so well done. That was so beautifully done.
Yeah.
And then even Chosen gets like a full redemption like moment where he has the moment to sort of quote unquote kill Daniel.
I have waited a long time for this. Chosen. No. Honk.
And then he does the nose honk that Daniel did to him and Miyagi did to Kreese. Like the symbolism is very parallel.
Yeah. There's a lot of circles, full circles.
I like what the show does. The show closes a lot of circles. I really do enjoy that. Go ahead.
Something I think this show does better than like let's say like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is like tying the movie into the show. Like the movies are done and they're 20, 30 years old. But like it's pulling from that content or like a show like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. It's like we're our own thing, but also like Captain America exists, but we can't like show him or really talk about him.
So you mentioned your favorite moment, Tyler. I have my favorite moment. That's one of my favorite moments. What is your favorite moment, Kenny?
Oh God, there's so many of them.
What are they? Name them.
I'm not gonna go favorite moment so much as I'm gonna go like the soundtrack in its entirety is so well put together that whenever I'm watching the show and like you hear like AC/DC come on or something, like those moments get me hyped. Like those kind of become my favorite moments. Like the show does such a good job of picking the songs to match it. Like it just gets me into it and it gets me pumped. So I pick like any moment with like an AC/DC or a metal song. Yeah, those are my favorite moments.
All right, I'm okay. I'm gonna share mine. This is one of my. So my favorite. I have two favorite. My favorite moment actually. Yeah, it's two. It's the fight scene in the hallway of season 2, and this one right here.
Turn it down, you say. All I gotta say to you one time and I'm gonna say, no.
Like that to me, that moment is awesome. I'm like, oh my god.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I'm like, it just showed that to me. That spoke volumes about Johnny Lawrence's character. I'm like, I'm gonna lie to get this kid in. Like, just get him off his brain. Like, give him a dime. But I'm like, oh, because of that, his leg is working again. Yeah, that's one of my favorite moments. Like, I'm like, it's a very human moment. It's very, yes, it's fantasy, it's fiction, but I love it. I love that human moment.
Joseph Campbell would have written that.
You think so?
Ultimate coming of age is like escaping oneself and like not letting the whole world consume your being. And I think when Miguel finally let go of just wanting to walk, by wanting to rock, his feet, I don't know. It's perfect writing. They're excellent.
All right. Is there anything else you guys want? Oh, go ahead, sorry, Kenny.
So I'm so glad Netflix picked it up.
Me too.
Some extra attention because I think something that we've neglected to bring up is like there was a 2.5-year gap between season 2 and season 3, and like it was kind of
it was 2.
It was a long time.
It wasn't necessarily dead in the water, but it was like unknown what was going to go on with it.
Like no one knew about it when it was on YouTube. I only got YouTube because I gotta watch this, and then I'm glad I watched it on. I'm glad it came on Netflix because I'm like, I showed it to my cousin in Mexico started watching. I'm like, dude, what is it? I'm like, dude, it's awesome. Watch it now. So I'm glad I'm glad the whole world got to watch it. I really enjoyed it. I just can't wait for season 4. I love that ending scene with both with Miyagi-Do and Eagle Fang. Alrighty. Any final thoughts? Any final comments on Cobra Kai before we frack off?
What's your favorite episode?
My favorite episode. Oh God, recently. Shoot. I think my favorite episode is the All Valley Tournament episode. That's my favorite one, just because I'm like, it's
End of season 1.
yeah.
Yeah.
It was.
Mine.
Go ahead.
Sorry. No. Go ahead. Continue.
Because it felt like if they ended that, if that show didn't go on, there was redemption for enough people. Like everyone, I felt enough closure with that episode. But with season 2, I'm like, there's not closure. Season 3, I'm like, there's no closure. Season 1 ends in such. I'm like, okay, season 1, the perfect. There's closure. If it doesn't go on, I'm done. I'm happy. It's cool. But I'm glad it went on. If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. No, that's a really good way to phrase it. If it stopped at season 1, it's great tie together. Mine's gonna be when Johnny has all the kids, and he just opens Cobra Kai, and he's not really sure how to run the dojo, what to do. He takes them all to the cement mixer, and it's like a lumber yard. Throws them in the cement mixer and like tries to get them like going in more unconventional ways. It makes you feel like Johnny really has no idea what he's doing here, but he cares so much he's going to do whatever it takes to like get these kids to, as he would say, not be pussies, but like improve and grow and defend themselves.
Right. What's yours, Tyler?
I have a couple, but I'll just settle on this episode divides me because it's where Sam gets drunk, and I don't like that happened. But what I really liked about the episode is when Johnny goes on the date with Carmen, and then Daniel and his wife grab the table next to him, and then for like, I don't know, a couple hours, Johnny and Daniel make up. But of course, then the following episode, Daniel shows up at his house and there's that fight. So not necessarily an episode, but like a great false victory.
That's a great moment because they've always gotten close to being like, let's be friends, and they finally get it. We finally get in season 3. Like, all right, we have to team up together.
Every time you start to see how much they truly have in common with each other.
Yeah,
there's something that rips them back apart.
Yeah,
something I want to touch on that again to say that I should have said earlier before we break off. Johnny Lawrence is an honorable character. He was just like Miyagi said, no such thing as bad teacher. No such thing as bad student, only a bad teacher. And Johnny Lawrence was he is honorable, like, because that's something even though it's his own son, like you guys didn't fight properly, like you fought like cowards, and he made them like, so there was always that honor in Johnny. And I'm glad we're finally seeing that in Cobra Kai. That's my final thought.
Can I just throw a final thought in there for me too about exactly that? Johnny is also the only cast member, reoccurring cast member, who actually had martial art or like was a legit black belt going into Cobra Kai. And it really shows when you watch it. And then when rewatching The Karate Kid, Johnny drops a lot of hints as to his true self when he was like saying, no, I don't want to sweep the leg. And like, that's not fighting fair and stuff. And at the end, after he loses, yeah, good job, Daniel. Like he tries to do, we're friends now and everything. So kudos to that.
Kenny?
I think he touched on it really well. It's a show about father figures, from Johnny and his stepfather to Daniel and Mr. Miyagi to now these kids. And I think that's what the show's been doing really, really well. And I hope to see more of it in season 4.
Alrighty. Well, thank you for joining us. Thank you for watching. We'll see you same fracking time, same fracking channel. Frack off.